I have a question for everyone who's listening. If your posts were screenshots with the logo cropped out, would people know that it's you? Would people know who it's from? And if the answer is no, then that's a problem. So today what we want to talk about is feed identity. Can you explain, but in simple terms, because I don't want to overcomplicate it. Can you explain what feed identity is?
Yeah, so if you Google feed identity, it comes up with something from IBM about data, something about statistics. I thought it was everyone knew what it was, but apparently not. It's something we've made up. But everyone knows exactly what it is when I explain it. So in its simplest terms, feed identity is just being instantly recognizable on social media feeds. Doesn't matter if it's YouTube, if it's LinkedIn, if it's Twitter, if it's X, or X and Twitter are the same thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, old habits. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just being instantly recognizable. So this kind of encompasses a range of things. It can be like your visual style, so the colors you use, any patterns, any kind of fonts that you use, just the initial visual look of your content. This can get quite samey, but there's a few brands that are really doing this right. It can also be your tone, so kind of the way that you talk about things, whether that's in like an educational way, whether that's in a funny way, if you're humorous with the way that you're speaking about a certain topic. Just doing that consistently is going to set you out from the rest in terms of building a feed identity that's based around that. The other is kind of like topical authority and content pillars. So if you're known as a person that speaks about sales or just speaks about SEO or ads or B2B marketing or something, if you're consistently writing super valuable content around that, that's also a way to build a kind of feed identity because you're known as that person. So if it's, but that needs to be linked with another kind of part of feed identity as well. But again, it's like it's a standout feature that builds a feed identity.
Yeah, and I can think of a few people when it comes to that. One other thing that I would add, I don't know if you mentioned this, but like also video editing style, because I have a few examples in my head as well. It can also be quite recognizable in terms of like how you clip bits together and the intros that you have and stuff like that. But yeah, it all comes together as feed identity.
But yeah, it goes across, so it's not just like you're only posting pictures or videos. So that kind of like simplifies it too much because then it becomes everything looks the same. It's just the way that that's done. So that's why it's usually a combination of things. It's not just one thing. So it can be, you're kind of like, you have your visual identity. So the colors, the fonts you use, any patterns or specific shapes or whatever you use in your content, matched with kind of the tone and the topical authority. That's what really builds like a strong feed identity. Because you could be posting the same kind of things with the same colors and fonts, but it could be a mishmash of different topics and it doesn't make sense and the tone's different. That throws people off of your of recognizing you in a feed. I think before we move on to anything else, it's important to talk about why it's so important beyond just being recognizable, because you can be recognizable in a feed, but people just don't take you seriously. They're like, oh yeah, it's one of his posts. So there's two kind of ways that you can lean into this. You can build a feed identity with really crappy content and you'll be known for that crappy content because of your feed identity. So that's why before you master kind of building this feed identity, you also need to kind of master your
content.
Topic,
but I think we're just
content as well.
Let's just speak about feed identity today from the premise that your content is good.
Yeah.
So let's just as a scenario, let's just say you already have valuable content. So then the feed identity comes as an addition.
Yeah, like we've spoken about before as well. It's you have the foundation of content, but it doesn't get seen, and
Yeah.
not all the time, but sometimes it can be a result of you trying to build this identity on social media that is so confusing that it just throws
Mm.
people off constantly, because one day you're talking about one thing, the next day you're talking about another, which is all well and good, like especially when it comes to like personal branding and stuff. um it's okay to completely to talk about different things, but there needs to kind of be that
Yeah.
identity behind
Yeah.
it, which is why you see all of the big creators, they all have a kind of a very
Yeah.
solid identity. And that's not the only reason why they're successful. And sometimes it's not a good thing because it can be very generic.
Mm.
But a lot of the time they've spent a lot of time building this identity. And I feel like it just enhances good content. It makes good content even better.
And I think that's the number one reason why feed identity is so important, because it makes your content stand out and it actually gets seen. So it's not just, you could have like the best insights in the world, but if your content doesn't get seen, then it's useless, basically. So
Yeah.
the feed identity, building a feed, having a strong feed identity, I'd say also it helps your content stand out, and it builds that trust with your audience, right? Because, and I have so many examples in my head. Like the first thing that comes into my mind is all the like personal branding people that I mean, personal brands that I know and recognize on LinkedIn. And the way I see it is that, I'll see a graphic from someone and instantly I know it's someone whose content I value. So I stop to
hmm
read.
I think that let's go through a few examples,
Yeah.
just so we can
You pick your
give a,
favorites.
because it's all well and good talking about it, but without seeing examples, it's hard to kind of understand what we're talking about.
Can I start? Because it was just the one that I had in mind specifically. And he's a B2B marketing genius, is Pierre. He's very specific in the way that he designs his graphics, his
hmm
infographics. And every time I scroll through my feed, I instantly know when it's one of his graphics.
Yeah.
And I stop and pay super good attention to it, because I know this is his thing. His infographics are so full of value, but they're so recognizable that the way he's designed them,
Yeah.
the way he lays down the info, not just the design, but the way he formats the information on the infographic, it stuck with me. So now I just instantly recognize it and I want to read it every time I
It's
see it in my feed.
like I said, it's built off of a foundation of like good like
Yeah.
of knowledge, like.
Yeah.
But again, the reason why his content is so successful again is because it's like really good information
Yeah.
paired with something that's like instantly recognizable.
Yeah.
And
Visually
that takes time
recognizable.
as well.
Yeah.
It takes months, sometimes even years. These people have been posting for years and it's taken them a long time to build
Mm.
this kind of feed identity. But the reason why you see them sticking with it is because they know that other people instantly
Yeah.
see the content on their feed and know that it's them.
Yeah.
But you need to start from somewhere. Another really good example, and this would make sense because it's his business is Nick Brokema. Was He has a very strong visual identity.
Mm.
He works with a couple of specific colors, the greens, but that works really well purely because it's so recognizable when you see his posts. And also it's like really customized as well. It's not like a Canva
Mm.
template. He designs all of his own stuff.
Yeah.
So you see his stuff, you're like, what? It's different. It's not like everyone else's is content as well.
Mm.
So it's instantly recognizable, but again, it's like based off of like real knowledge. And this is why feed identity is super important, because he's able to kind of stray away from only using that content. He posts pictures and
Mm-hmm.
text posts and stuff like this. But he's kind of like, he has such a strong feed identity. You know it's him
Yeah.
regardless of what he
Yeah. I get what
posts. Because he's got that kind of tone in the kind of the image posts that he does.
Mm.
His carousels are like super recognizable. You instantly know just from the colors. If
It's
you used to
him.
scroll past it 100 miles an hour, you would know that it was him that posted. His like infographic stuff as well. All of that stuff is just bang, and that's the most important part about feed
Mm.
identity. That it is like a bang moment. Like you don't need to see their picture. see their company logo, see the company name, you just go past the content,
Yeah.
you see it, and you know it's theirs. Um,
I
and
think there's a few like
and that's an example of like a very strong visual
yeah.
identity. Um, because there are some people that only post um, just like text, that like plain text. And I know it's like a thing on LinkedIn now to just not have anything capitalized and just like
Mm,
start with like lowercase letters in
yeah.
sentences. Um, a really good example of that is Richard Cook,
Uh-huh.
the social lead at Monzo. He's a really good example because he's so unserious, and it just feeds through to what they do at Monzo, and it's so
I love
good,
to see
and
it.
everyone loves it. Um, and that is a example of like a feed identity based
Mm.
off of tone. You know it's him because of the way that he's writing and the things that he's speaking about, and it works. Not everyone can pull it off, but he manages to pull it off.
And I think speaking of tone of voice, there's a few other people on LinkedIn that have infused so much of their personality in the way they write content, and it's just text posts. But I swear, if you removed the name from that text post, I could instantly tell you who they are
Yeah,
because of that. I mean, some of them are seen as rants, or some of them can be seen as quite crude, or like, it's not to everyone's taste. But because it's not for everyone, they're so their tone of voice is so unique that you instantly know who they are, what they do. You know, obviously, if their content is valuable as well,
yeah,
you
that's
stop
the
and
thing.
read.
Whether that like it's all well and good being like this sarcastic person on LinkedIn, but if it doesn't, if you're repelling people rather than attracting
Yeah.
people, because for some,
Specific audience, I guess.
and I mean, yeah, there is no right and wrong answer, because sometimes you might repel the people that you want to attract, but then again, you might be also attracting more people. It's like you need to
Yeah.
choose a route and stick to it.
Yeah.
That's what that's the best kind of advice I would give.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think you can't please everyone. And you also definitely don't want to work with everyone. So having a style that's unique to you, even if it might not be liked by absolutely everyone, that's fine because that's unique to you and it's who you are and it's your personality.
Yeah.
And same goes for the company feed identity as well.
But yeah, so that's more on the personal kind of
Yeah, that's more on the
side of
personal
things, which
branding
is
type. Yeah.
more playful. Um, but if we go on to kind of like the company side of things, like I spoke about with like Richard, you would instantly, well, Monzo has a feed identity that you can just instantly notice. One, because it's their tone, it's the exact
Yeah.
way they write, even if the topics are not exactly relevant all the time. It's just the way that they write, and it's funny and it's
Yeah.
engaging. It's the brand personality coming out. So that's like the feed identity, the big takeaway from kind of like Monzo, and also with just like the colors and stuff that they use throughout their content and their ads and everything. You
Mm.
instantly know that it's them.
I
Um,
think we did a few other examples on this in a previous episode. So, for people who are interested in knowing, like learning about companies having like a strong brand identity, I recommend going to our other episode where we spoke about B2B company content.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, they're slightly different, but there's quite a few companies out there nailing their feed identity as well. B2B companies.
yeah. Another good example is Notion.
Yeah,
So Notion has a very strong visual identity. They
yeah.
lean on the visual side of like the cartoon kind of stuff that they do, and the
With the
shapes and
cursor as
everything.
well is present in a lot of their
Yeah,
animations.
so
Yeah.
you see it. So it's like small touches like that instantly
Mm,
remind you that it's them. So if you put like Notion's feed up on one side,
mm.
and then on the other side you put a brand that's like completely scattered, that brand might be getting really good engagement on like the
Yeah,
scattered content. But it's, if you were to take away like all the branded parts of their
yeah.
content and stuff like that, you completely
You wouldn't
you
know
would
who
you
it
have no
is.
idea who
Yeah.
it is. And the whole thing with B2B is that there's hundreds of touch points, right?
Mm,
So what's the point of a touch point if the person can't remember
exactly.
where their content
Yeah.
has come from? That's what's ultimately that's what it comes down to, because you can have a great feed identity, but the content's completely
Mm.
irrelevant and it's a useless touch point. Or you can have like a really strong feed identity with like super useful touch point. So now people are probably going to be asking the impossible question of how do you build a strong feed identity? I don't think there's a right answer to this.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it can be very complex, but I'm going to try to keep it simple. Just something that applies to both personal brands and companies. Because a lot of the times there can be a lot of differences. But I would say before anything else, you need to have clarity on what you want to be known for, both personally, if you're
mhm,
building a personal brand, and as a company. So, as an example, as a professional who's trying to build a personal brand, like who do I want to be? What do I want to be known for? What do I want to be the go-to person for? Is it industry specific insights? Is it industry trends? Is it, I don't know, like my specific knowledge in the specific service that I offer? Is it my funny take on whatever, like what's your positioning, who you are in the market?
mhm,
You need to be very clear on. And it's very valid for companies as well. They need to, but obviously this should be something that every company does before they even start marketing,
mhm,
right? What's their position in the market? But I'd say like being super clear on what your mission is and what you want to be associated with.
mhm,
And then after that's established, you need to make sure you stay consistent with your branding, with the tone of voice that you choose to follow, like that you choose to implement in your content. So make sure you keep, like, if you start out with a range of greens or a range of blues, just don't change your colors like 3 months in, because your audience is going to be confused and that completely ruins your.
it does make a big impact. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the colors do. Like you said in your example earlier, Nick uses like 3 shades of green, and the way he uses them in his content makes it super recognizable.
Mhm,
So consistency is very important, in not just in branding, like colors and fonts and stuff, but in tone. You can't do one post that's super serious and then your next post is like super cheeky.
yeah.
Also very confusing. Like, who are you? Are you the serious brand? Are you the funny, cheeky brand? Like, you need to pick a tone of voice and stick with it.
Don't try and do everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And then consistency in posting. You know, a lot of people just try to do everything they can to go viral, and they try everything and they miss this consistency in their branding and tone of voice and like style of writing. And
Yeah, you should be sick of your own message.
exactly. Um, and when you get completely sick of your message and want to switch things up, that's exactly when people will actually start remembering you.
True. Yeah.
Um, but that's mostly a thing that marketers do. So yeah. The third thing, and this applies a lot to personal branding, I'd say, is having character in your content. I think a lot of the
I think a lot of people that have it now, it's happened naturally as well.
yeah.
You can't really force it. A lot of the funny people on LinkedIn, that's who they are as
Yeah.
people. So
But that's
it's
what I mean, especially if you know you're a character and you know you have a strong personality,
yeah.
or like you're
But you
very
don't need to force it,
opinionated.
because then it can come across
Yeah.
as like inauthentic. The same with company content. If you're trying to be position yourself as someone you're not, it
Yeah.
can come across as
Yeah.
inauthentic. But yeah, that's more to do with personal branding. I
That's
don't
more
want to
to
go too
personal branding, yeah.
deep into that.
Um
A lot of that is just people being authentic. So it's like you can't, like I said, you can't
yeah.
force it.
And I think it's hard for a lot of people to let their personalities shine through in their content, because there's still, we're in the B2B industry, so there's still a lot of stigma around like being super funny or cheeky or blah blah. Like, people are still a bit afraid to be their authentic self. But I think the ones that have managed to do so, you can clearly see like their content just went through the roof when it comes to engagement. And that obviously translates into leads and revenue later on. So don't be afraid to be yourselves. That's all. And obviously, these are very simple steps that you can take to build a feed identity. But there's also, I'd say there's even more things that I feel like we need to warn people about, like big mistakes that we've seen people do and companies do that completely ruin
Yeah, I
their
mean, we
feed
make the
identity.
mistake all the time. I've got sick of my own content and tried to like change the different formats,
Yeah.
and it's just confusing. Like at the time, it feels like the right thing to do, and I think a lot of companies do this as well. They're like, oh,
Yeah.
when this isn't working, let's just switch. Which is sometimes the right thing to do, is to switch.
Let's do a brand refresh.
But a lot of the time, it's more to do with just being consistent.
Yeah.
So, but you need to experiment at first to find out what's going to work for you. So I
Yeah.
think inconsistency is the number one thing. Inconsistency in tone of voice, in branding, in topics, in content pillars, and kind of everything. That's the number one thing where people go wrong.
And tied to this consistency, I would say a big mistake that I've seen both businesses and like professionals do for their personal brands is trying so hard to go viral that they will try to hop on every single trend, even if it doesn't fit into basically the tone of voice, the branding they chose. And obviously if you've, I don't know, for example, if you chose like a rather serious, insightful approach for your content, you can't go and do like a funny TikTok trend just hoping you'll go viral and people will see it, because then that's what, if you go viral for that piece of content, that's what people continue to expect from you. But that's not your brand. That's not your
it's
identity
goes
at
back
all.
to consistency. Yeah.
And that's why I said it's very tied to consistency. Yeah. Any other mistakes that come to mind?
That's what feed identity is. It's consistency.
Yeah,
That's the number one thing where people go wrong. Just jumping on trends is not always the best thing to do. So yeah, it really is consistency. It's overused cliche, but it's a cliche for a reason. It's just, you need to be consistent.
Would you say overthinking the content could lead to some mistakes?
Yeah, I think you can over explain in your content as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, being sick of your own messaging and just trying to change things up, overthinking your content to think, oh, people have probably already seen this. And it doesn't mean that you just need to repeat the same message over and over again. It's kind of finding different ways to explain your expertise or challenges or points or things like that. So
I agree. Yeah.
You shouldn't overthink content too much.
I mean, I'm guilty of doing this myself, and a lot of the times when I write content for LinkedIn, I find myself like over explaining or
trying to explain 1,000 things at once.
That too, but also what I realize is that a lot of the times I think to myself, oh, I've repeated this in my content way too many times. But what we don't realize is that through this repetition is how people will remember.
Yeah, it's creative ways to say the same thing.
Yeah. For us, it seems like we've said it 1,000,000 times, but your audience has probably seen it like twice. So you need to like keep saying it until everyone remembers you for that specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm guilty of making that mistake. Yeah. Okay. Should we wrap it up?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Anything else you want to add to feed identity?
No, we pretty much covered it.
Just a challenge.
Trademark the term.
I'd say just like a not challenge, because I don't like the way it sounds. But I honestly do encourage everyone who's listening, if you
go look at the examples, I would say.
Go look at the examples and then try to analyze your own feed. If you're a company or if you're trying to build a personal brand, try to take these things into consideration and see where you stand at the minute. If there's anything you can do to improve it, if you're doing too much or doing too little, I think it's a great exercise for everyone.
Yeah, and don't copy anyone else. Do your own things.
Because you'll get banned from LinkedIn.
Use the examples that we've mentioned today, and then just figure out how you can kind of bend in your own personality, whether that's a company or if it's a personal brand. Figure out what you can stay most consistent with.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you
See
very
everyone on
much.
the next episode.